being a young black guy in a world where there is so much competition, in a world where there's so much scrutiny, I think for me, I've always been able to go into the room and really appreciate I'm kind of in this room for a reason, and I'm in this room to really be me, be myself, and embrace the opportunity that's in front of me. So
it's a powerful belief that you hold. And I think, the implication of that is that whenever you go into a room, you're looking for reasons why it can be done.
Someone tried to block my success.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, it's wild. Live. We are live. We're finally here. Look at Teddy Talks shining right now in the background. It's looking good. You feel comfortable?
I feel comfortable. The set looks amazing. The fact that this has all come to fruition is just, it's mind-blowing.
What a moment. What a moment. It's taken almost a year for us to get here. Guys, welcome to Teddy Talks. We are super excited to have you. My name is Teddy Soares, and it's been a long time in the making, getting everything together to get to this point where we've got this channel now. And wherever you're watching, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you're watching this right now, I hope that you are feeling as good as we are right now.
Yeah, look at you, you're just smiling like a Cheshire cat from ear to ear. Yeah, so it's super exciting. Hi everyone, I'm Sidney Soares, Teddy's brother. This has been in the works for the best part of a year now. I mean, in the background, we've been talking about launching this podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And Teddy, do you want to tell everyone how it's actually come about? What is the whole theme here? What is it that you're trying to do? What is your intentions? Why did you decide to do this podcast with me? Obviously, I feel so honored. How could you choose me?
Well, I'm going to multitask whilst I'm doing this because we said we're going to drink. I don't know how long this might last for, depending on what kind of things come out of our mouths. This might change the drinking situation, but
we'll have to cut the podcast short if that happens.
But no, this you're right. This is a long time coming, as I said earlier on as well. But the reason why now, I think, is more because I run off instincts more than anything, and I feel like doing things correctly is just as important as doing things urgently. But I feel like with putting yourself out there, when it comes to talking about the things that we're going to talk about, it's going to take a lot of energy for us to be able to really tap into the things that we're talking about. And I think the timing of when we were initially thinking about putting this podcast out, there were so many things going on. This year has been a phenomenal year. I can't believe we're already in December right now, and we're coming into a new year of 2024. But this entire year has been a culmination of changes for me.
What sort of changes?
Breakup is the biggest one at the beginning of the year. Moving into a new situation with you, me and you, we're living together, which has its trials and tribulations, but mainly good.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Mainly good. Mm-hmm. And then loads of brand works as well. One of my favorite all-time brands throughout, as long as I can remember as an adult, buying clothes has always been All Saints. So that partnership was huge this year as well. And obviously we can't forget about SAS, which is a show that I was on this year as well. So there's so many things that played a part in why this Teddy Talks amazing podcast is or going to be amazing podcast.
You're manifesting it. That's right. Speak it in the present.
Speak it out into existence. Is the right time right now, I think. Mm-hmm. And why you, bro? Come on. We have so many organic conversations, so many conversations that you guys don't get to hear, and I don't necessarily share my entire life on Instagram in the way that most people do. So I think this is also a good opportunity just to tap into um, the minds of society right now, what we see out in the day to day that some people don't like to talk about, and we're just going to tap into, the mind, body, mind, and spirit, and really share our experiences. Some guests that are going to come on, we've got an empty chair right now in the middle, which I'm sure you guys can guess. We're going to have some incredible people on here as well from all walks of life. So I think, yeah, right now, timing wise, perfect time to be doing this. Perfect time to have you with me doing this as well, because the conversations we have is just, I don't know how to put it into words, but it's I always leave our conversations feeling like we've got somewhere, we've understood really a sense of direction of where we're trying to go, especially when it comes to serious conversations. Obviously, we always have a laugh and a joke, and we're always giggling and laughing. But I think when we talk about serious situations, we always really strip things back. We always apply logic to things, and I don't want to really talk too much about you, but without you talking about yourself, obviously. But you're an NLP practitioner. Is that the right way to say
that's
it?
right. And for those people who haven't come across NLP before, it's called Neurolinguistic programming, and it's all about driving self-development and change in positive ways. You can use it to improve communication, improve it to achieve specific goals in life. And actually, if introspectively, I use it a lot just as a framework of thinking. How can I reframe certain things when I'm going through a certain negative situation? It's just another tool in my toolbox that I can just pick out and just use as of when I need to. Like I don't walk around thinking, yeah, I'm an NLP practitioner. I just access that sort of mental model when I need to.
Part of your life's experience,
Part
right?
of my life experience. That's right. And I know you touched on the mind body connection, and NLP is more of a psychological approach that tries to connect the three things together. So the neurology, or for neuroscience, that relates to the mind, and linguistic relates to language, how you use language, the sort of power that has over yourself. And you can use it to control narratives, you can use it to influence good and bad things. So there's a lot of power in the word you say. And I've always had a keen interest in psychology. I played around with it, and at A levels, when I was at school, and I never really explored it when I went to uni, because I was pursuing the career in medicine. But I was always reading like psychological texts, and still had keen interest in like self-development books, because I just wanted to open my mind more in the world of psychology. Maybe I should have just chosen a career path as a therapist. Who knows? Maybe that's the
Well, who knows? After this, you might end up exploring it.
Maybe.
See.
But sorry, I went off on a tangent. So let's get to the P. So programming is just relates to your behavior, the way you do things. And if you try and connect all the three things together, right, your behaviors and the way you speak, what do they all start with? They all start with a thought first, right? So if you can interrupt your thought patterns when you're having negative thought patterns, maybe you can change the direction of how you perceive things and where you're going in life. But let's not give too much away now. I think let's talk a little bit about the past year, because you said there's a lot of things that got in the way of Teddy Talks, and those things aren't small things, right?
Yeah.
And if we were to unpack one of those things, change, right? There's been a lot of change in your life, and you've moved house, you've gone through a breakup, you've worked with so many fantastic different brands, you've traveled the world. And when we're going through certain things, we try to relate to quotes, don't we?
We love a quote, and I
So
think we apply it every single day, don't we? And I think it's kind of come from top down. Our mom sends us messages pretty much every single day with either a prayer or a quote or an affirmation of some sorts from somewhere. So I think that's always really been instilled in us. I think from a young age, in terms of just having certain things in our lives, connecting dots in our lives that really allow us to apply ourselves. So that's going to be a tradition. But before we go on to what our quotes are and what those traditions,
you're waving this bottle
I really want to drink right now.
Okay, let's pour up.
I also want to drink to the fact that not just the things that I've gone through, it's everything you've also gone through as well. So whilst I pour this, I would love to also tap into why you wanted to do this as well, because it's not just I've had an amazing year, which we'll drink to that, but also you've had an amazing year as well. I think an amazing 2 years specifically from the top of my head. But yeah, I'll let you dive into that.
Yeah, I mean, it feels weird because you don't really like. Well, I say you. I speak for myself. I don't really blow my own trumpet unless someone's interviewing me, and like taking stock of myself is. Sometimes I find that quite hard to not to do, but to speak to other people about it.
Yeah.
When I reach this glass.
Yeah, I'm thinking I can't reach that glass.
It's a bit of a stretch. But yeah, if I was to think of, okay, what were the milestones? What were my particular key moments in the past 2 years? And I guess one of the biggest ones was, buying my first home, my first place for myself.
There we go. We need a bartender.
We do need a bartender. We'll work on that.
We'll work on it. And we need a side table
when the podcast gets a bigger budget.
Yeah. That's when guys, if we get a butler, for a butler. I can't believe I just called it a butler. If we get a waiter, that's when the podcast is doing really well right now. But yeah, cheers, bro. Cheers to life.
To life.
And to Teddy Talks.
And to
First
Teddy
episode.
Talks.
I'm really excited for
Me
this.
too.
And I hope you guys are too. But sorry I cut you off. Let's do
that's
this
okay.
For all important things.
Okay, you cut me off. You cut me off all the time. Nothing that I'm not used to. So yeah, I was just saying that I bought my first place. I guess, in the past 2 years, it was super exciting. I was working towards this in my mind for such a long time. Being as a kid, thinking about what it's going to be like when I have my own place. And also growing up in a family where, our parents own a small property portfolio. So I'm also thinking about, okay, what's it going to be like when I have my own property portfolio? And I planting the flag on the map with my first property just made me feel like, oh, I'm on the path now to doing that thing. And, living by myself, that's another moment, right? Like before we started living together, I haven't experienced that before. After leaving the mum's nest, as you do, I've always been living with friends, hopping from different parts of London, from Clapham to Fulham to Sheffield, and now I've got my own place, and that was also a new experience for me. And I also have had multiple changes in terms of my employment as well, switching from different jobs. Although I've still stayed in the whole prop tech space, but I've also been pushing the boundaries for myself, delving more into coaching. In the past 2 to 3 years, exploring NLP more, becoming a practitioner, getting the coaching badges, exploring hypnotherapy, engaging actually in speaking with clients and seeing actually do these techniques actually work. What's it like? I'm applying these things in the world of work. What's it like when I'm just isolating this, when I'm speaking to someone who's looking to better themselves for a specific thing? And that's also been pretty cool as well. So yeah, there's been a few things, and also just being part of your journey.
Mhm.
You know, that's completely new to me. I haven't grown up with an A list or a B list or whatever you want to call it, someone who's in the public eye, and I feel like I've had to mature through that too.
Yeah, we've had to figure it
We've
out.
had to figure it
Really
out
figure it
together.
out.
So yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot.
And why here? Why the Teddy Talks? What's brought Sydney here? Apart from me, obviously.
Yeah. No, okay, we'll start with that. So I think if we actually rewind the clock a few years, right, before you went on the show that everyone discovered you on, Love Island, I remember flirting with the idea of should I or should I not enroll in the NLP course. For such a long time, I was like reading books around it, textbooks and stuff, but I never really.
This should be in COVID when you're confined and
Yeah.
really thinking about things to do and whatnot.
Yeah. So, but prior to COVID,
Even prior to COVID,
I'd
okay.
been exploring NLP for like 5 years prior to COVID, right? But I never went all in. But the trigger for me to go all in, I remember, is when you were thinking about going through the process of going on Love Island.
Yeah.
And being very aware of the mental health struggles that people who have gone on the show have had to wrestle with.
Of course.
I was also thinking to myself that I've got a responsibility for you and for me, thinking that not only am I interested in this thing, but this is a really good motivation to learn it, because when Teddy comes out of this thing, he's going to be subject to a lot of abuse, and maybe his anxiety levels will pick up. Maybe he's not going to know how to handle certain situations, and who else better to be there for him with certain skills that can help him other than his brother? And you know, being a spiritual person, I am my brother's keeper. So yeah, I like that. That helped me.
Amen to that, people.
You know, that helped me. That helped me take the plunge. Now, going back to the why am I here with you? The reason I was bringing up that story was because I also feel that since you've gone through this transition and you've entered the public eye, the world still doesn't know you like I know you. Like they're seeing a side of you that you have to project in certain ways, and you can't give off your entire self, because you're only in front of people for a limited amount of time. Maybe you're on a red carpet, maybe you're at a particular event, and they don't see fully you how I see you.
Yeah.
And I want to engage in conversations where people can see other sides of you.
Yeah.
Because we're more relaxed when we're with each other, and we've had a lot of experiences together, so there's a lot we can get into.
Yeah, it's so crazy because I remember being sat on the barber's chair, and he said the exact same thing to me. Bear in mind, I've probably known this barber for maybe about a year.
Really?
And he said to me, "Oh, you know, I feel like people on social media don't really know the real Teddy.
Wow.
So like, I can't wait for your Teddy Talks podcast to come out, because now they can actually hear you, they can hear you speak, they can hear your tonality, and they can just hear your vibes and what your mindset is like." And I think that's so important to just really touch on that, just because I don't know, before Love Island, I was a very private guy, into finance. So I was working in the finance industry for about 5 years before Love Island. Loved it. Still really think about that job, because it was great people, and also my clients that I was working with was just amazing. But for the idea of social media for me was non-existent. LinkedIn was the maximum priority for me, not Instagram. So now having to pick up the phone and talk about my life to people and talk about why me and my ex broke up and really talk about my emotions through that. And, I'm like, nah, I'm putting myself first here. I can't be on social media for 3 days or a week or however long I would have come off during that period. And I have to look after me, right? So now being in this position where I'm able to actually do the Teddy Talks, try and add value to people's life, try and affect people's life in the way that they can hear our conversations, hear what we go through, hear what some of our guests that may come on go through, and understand how we navigate certain situations. Our mindset is really why I'd like to think both of us are doing this right now, so we can try and empower people in a positive way, mentally, and in all aspects, really, physically, spiritually, depending on the individual, right? But I'm excited for this, and I'm really excited that you were happy to join me on this journey as well, because our conversations are just, there's so many conversations that I wish were recorded that we can just really play back, because they've added so much value, and they're really why we are where we are today, I think. But we potentially may underestimate that. And I think it's a great segue. Some of the stuff you were talking about, or a lot of the stuff you were talking about, is a great segue into my quote, especially the moment of you taking the plunge and actually doing the NLP course, doing, walking the journey of buying your first property. All the decisions I've also made lead me to why I've chosen my quote, which this is going to form as part of our tradition throughout the podcast, where we will start with our quote. You'll talk about your quote. I'll talk about my quote. And when we have a guest here as well, the guest will also bring their quote forward. And we'll just vibe. We'll talk. We'll drink. And also, I would like for you guys on this occasion, when it's just me and Sidney, we will also love for you guys to have your quotes, and send us your quotes through comments, DMs, however you guys want to connect with us. Send your quotes through to us. We'll filter through them, and hopefully you'll also let us know exactly why this quote means what it means to you. But for me, my quote is from the great man Nelson Mandela, and it's one that's really resonated with me this year specifically, and I think throughout my difficult moments as well. But Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done.
Powerful.
And I think for me, this quote really hits home more so because of the things that I've done this year, especially the All Saints campaign, because I do remember distinctly someone tried to block my success.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, it's wild. I remember, so I obviously came out of Love Island, and we sat down and we thought of ways in which we can make this kind of work. And the brands that I love, you kind of, the way in which me and my brothers, we sat down and we mapped out which brands I love, who I'd love to work with.
Like a vision board.
Almost like a vision board. Yeah, almost like a vision board. And I remember when I walked up to this team of mine at the time, and they had said to me that I would never, ever be able to work with All Saints. It's just not something that could happen within the reality TV world that I'm in. And I was like, I kind of took it on board, but didn't really believe it. So I didn't really take it seriously. But at the end of the day, the first campaign I did was Jack Wills, and, we go through the gears. I didn't really think that I was going to work with All Saints, if I'm being real, to any capacity at any point. And then, boom, we get to 2023. All Saints want me to go to loads of these events. And I think it's so important to have a degree of of a positive outlook on life. And I'm someone that always looks at life with a glass half full. You know, there's always the opportunity and potential to kind of do something that you really want to do. And in that moment where you're getting invited to these events, and also having been told at the time that I'm never going to be able to work with these people, it's almost like you could have the mindset of why are you going? Why are you going? Like, well, what's the point? You're just going to show face. Or you could have a positive outlook on it, and you're going there to connect with them, understand the business, understand the culture, understand. Really, for me at the time as well, is being so into All Saints, is just really understand the culture at All Saints. Really understand if this feeling that I have of loving the brand is one of a genuine feeling, like I should really be having this. It's not like you get to the company and then you suddenly find out that everyone's a dick. You know, everyone's not with the brand for the right reasons, and that wasn't the case. It ended up that when I went to my first All Saints event, oh wow, I was like, this feels like family right now. I genuinely feel as though I'm part of the furniture as well. So that all those feelings then adds to the positive feeling that I have inside me that wow, I'm just, you know, I'm one of the family kind of thing. And then lo and behold, I end up working with them, which was amazing. So
can I stop you there and
Yeah.
just ask you a question about this process? You mentioned that someone tried to block your success.
yes.
And
terrible person. by the way.
terrible. Fast forward, you're working with a brand. So in between that time, you know, you said that you were going to the events, you were getting to know the brand, and you were almost letting your intuition guide you as to whether you want to pursue that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the quote, right? Just reading it back, it always seems impossible until it's done. And it just makes me think about people's belief system, right? The person or they who told you that you couldn't do it, they had the belief that you couldn't do it. What was your belief system like throughout all of that? Did you believe them? Did you believe that you still could, which is why you went to those events, went to those meetings, you know, went through that, whatever it is that you do when you're deciding whether you're going to work with a brand or not, whether they're going to work with you?
I've always...
What was your belief system like?
It's interesting because I've always believed that you're in the room for a reason. So for me, when it comes to situations that a lot of people, imposter syndrome, for example's sake. So a lot of people nowadays, which I don't necessarily believe in imposter syndrome to a certain degree. I understand it, don't get me wrong, but with me, whenever I'm in a room, I really do believe that there's a reason why I'm in that room. It didn't happen by accident. I didn't just suddenly, don't get me wrong, there are certain rooms I'm like, whoa, what happened? Why am I here? But
I'll ask you about those rooms, right?
yeah, let's not talk about those rooms. But the actual nuance of being somewhere, and you know, there are also other amazing people in that room as well, and feeling as though you shouldn't be there is you're sort of letting yourself down to a certain extent. I think be positive, really embrace where you are. And I think when, even at the point that I get an invitation from All Saints, the first invitation I ever got to go, I think it was a leather jacket event, but the first invitation I got, you take it and you're like, oh wow, this is All Saints. This is apparently I'm not supposed to get this. Someone said this wasn't supposed to happen. So in that instance, for me, it's kind of it just reaffirms that you are who you are. Like nobody outside of you looking in the mirror can dictate your direction. Only the man upstairs, really, and whatever you believe in. But for me, it's I am the person in these shoes, like not Tom, Dick, or Harry. Like it's me. So what I do with that situation is up to me. Obviously, if I go to All Saints and make a fool out of myself, then yeah, it wasn't supposed to be. But you really embrace it. You talk to people, you have conversations. You really find out about why people are interested in you, which also kind of reaffirms why you are also there. So when you're having genuine conversations with people, and you're not really putting an ego in inside of the conversation or inside of the room. You're really there as a student. You're there to learn. You're there to understand. And that's how I've always been able to, I think being a young black guy in a world where there is so much competition, in a world where there's so much scrutiny, I think for me, I've always been able to go into the room and really appreciate that I'm kind of in this room for a reason, and I'm in this room to really be me, be myself, and embrace the opportunity that's in front of me.
It's a
So
powerful belief that you hold. And I think, the implication of that is that whenever you go into a room, you're looking for reasons why it can be done
exactly,
rather than reasons why it can't be done. And that doesn't come naturally to everyone. And I know you mentioned that you've been in this state of mind or frame of mind for a while. Has that been like that from when you were a kid during childhood, or has that developed over time? Just to give people a little bit of insight on how you came to believe that belief is true. Because most people, they either inherit beliefs or they develop beliefs because of evidence they get in their life.
yeah. I don't think I've ever spoke about this actually, but when I was about 15, 16, I'm going to give you one of those stories. I was supposed to be a footballer, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
broke my
yeah,
leg,
yeah,
and
okay.
they didn't give me a scholarship. No,
Yeah.
but no, to be honest, I played for Wycombe Wanderers for maybe call it 6 to 12 months. I was going through a trial period with Wycombe, and I had all these great football players around me. There was Jordan Ibe, but there was just loads of talent around me. Jordan Ibe was the one that stuck out in my mind. And I remember, even though I was 15 or 16 at the time, and he was 2 years below me or a year below me, I'm kind of looking at this kid as, wow, he's going to go somewhere. He's going to be amazing. But whilst I'm admiring him, I'm forgetting about my talent. So the ball comes to me, and I've already forgotten about what I'm supposed to do with the ball. So I'm not concentrating on my talent. I'm concentrating on the fact that there's so many amazing players around me. And that moment, I personally believe, was the difference between why the professional players have made it today, and I didn't make it at the time, because I didn't have that belief in myself. I believe I had the talent. Obviously, I believe I have a talent. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to have the trial with Wycombe Wanderers. But from that point of view, in that moment, I realized now, and even in difficult moments in my life, that you were supposed to be there for a reason, and that was to embrace your talent. That was to really, nurture your talent and learn about, yes, you've got all these amazing players around you, but you're also a talent as well. What you do with that moment is entirely up to you. If you sit there and you spend time admiring all these other players around you, of course you're not going to be focused on nurturing your own talent. If you sit there and admire all these other players around you, that player is going to continue to prosper and develop and, do all the right things. And you're going to be stuck admiring that player.
Yeah.
So for me, and how I applied that to every situation moving forward, was that the next thing for me was I think I tried to do modeling. I was trying sales. sales was where I was at, and I then start figuring out that I'm actually quite good at communicating with people, and I'm great at building rapport with people. So how do I nurture that? And I'm starting to self develop. I'm starting to really believe in Teddy Soares. Teddy Soares has got this thing that needs to be nurtured and developed, and I'm starting to believe in myself.
You're stacking wins.
And yeah, and for me, I think that is how I was able to navigate the idea of something being impossible, then going and transitioning into something that could potentially be done. Is really how I navigated that process, because it was a huge eye opener when you have all these people that are trying to compete for a scholarship and trying to compete for something that will then take them to the next level. But what we don't consider in that moment is that just because you've had that level of success doesn't mean it stops there. Doesn't mean that you stop growing. So if you just get bogged down in the fact that, oh my God, I've ended up in this room and there's so many amazing people around me and I can't really, I- everything's impossible. If you get bogged down in that, you haven't even started walking the footsteps of, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? Because you're still stuck on, I can't even do it.
So that is definitely an issue at the belief
It's the belief level.
and I think you got to challenge those beliefs. You got to find ways to challenge those beliefs, right? So you need to, if you believe you can't do it, why don't you speak to someone who has done it?
Exactly.
And that might change your beliefs, right? Because actually you might figure out it's not that hard. I just need to stay at it for a specific period of time, and then maybe it'll be done. And actually, even if I can't get there in the end, I'm gonna pick up a few things along the way. And actually, it just got me thinking about, originally you said this year there's been a lot of changes from, I'll say the positive things, from the All Saints to traveling, and it's negatively you went through an emotional time when you're going through a breakup. I think you were in a relationship for maybe up to a year and a half or close to 2 years.
But would you call that negative?
Negative? No. Well, I say the ending of something always feels negative.
Yeah.
But the meaning of it can be positive, right?
100%.
Because so
I believe in that. Yeah.
So a great segue. I was just about to ask you. It's
the Remy sinking in.
I was just about to ask you, when you chose Nelson Mandela's quote, like, what does it mean to you looking at this year? Why did you choose it?
I think for me, it really resonated because ultimately, even when you look at breaking up with someone as well, that's something that's in some instance feels impossible. You're so madly in love with each other. You're in love with each other, and you don't really see anything else. So once you break up with someone, once you make the decision to actually break up with someone, and it's done, you go through the emotional grief, because it does feel like you've lost someone, but you go through those feelings, you go through those emotions, and then it's that first positive thing that happens to you that feels so unbelievably satisfying. So that then makes you start feeling like, oh wow, no, it wasn't that bad. Like, it's not that deep. And you then start, I think for me, it's all about your mindset. If you go into something with a negative mindset, you're going to get negative outcomes. But if you go into something with just a small bit of positivity and you nurture that positivity, everything begins to start changing. And in my instances throughout this year, there's so many pressured situations that I got that eureka moment. It's wow, okay. Again, using All Saints as an example, working with All Saints is going to be nigh on impossible.
Mm.
And then once you flip the mindset and you then start thinking, actually, if I go to this All Saints event and start having conversations with people in the room, or, I go into the All Saints event looking fresh, looking good, wearing the All Saints clothes that I genuinely do love and just be me,
Mhm.
something might happen. I might have a great conversation with someone about their budgets, or I might have a great conversation with someone about, oh, we don't usually work with TV reality or TV personalities, influencers, but we're starting to really look at what that looks like. Wow. Apparently you guys never, you never work with people. So
Mm.
it's just models. It's just your traditional models that you work with.
Mm.
But if you go into the mindset that maybe this could be a scope, there is a possibility that I could fit in this peg. Like it's one of these things that I'm a genuine believer in. If you apply yourself to things, and you apply yourself in the right way consistently, and you do things correctly, that things will work in your favor. And I really do think that that's easier said than done, because there's so many things in today's world, which is perhaps why people don't have this mindset anymore. And people really have thought about having a positive mindset, but they're actually like, I'm good with being cynical. I'm good with being cynical because at the end of the day, it's just easier that way. Like I'd rather wake up, do my 9 to 5, and just, have you ever in your situation felt like something was impossible and then suddenly that impossible became possible? Have you ever been in that situation yourself?
Yeah. There was a period during my life where, although I am ambitious, right? I'm a human being, so things happen to me, and then I think it tests your beliefs, right? And whilst I'm on the pursuit of, I want to get my first property, I'm making mistakes in there. Like I'm making mistakes with my credit card, inheriting certain debts, and you're starting to think, shit, well, how am I gonna stack up the deposit here? I don't even know where the deposit's gonna come from. I need to settle this debt real quick. And I'm questioning myself. I'm questioning why. What is even the purpose of me getting my own place? And then
I'm good with
I'm
renting.
good. I'm good.
Do you know what? Renting, give the landlord money.
It's fine. I'm surviving. Paycheck to paycheck. It's cool. Why not? And I'm meditating on that, and I'm thinking about whether it is possible. And the cost of living crisis hits you as well, and I can find more reasons as to why I shouldn't do it. Interest rates are going up. Inflation is going up. Why should I do it?
It's not the right time.
It's not the right time. It's not the right time. And it's that negative voice you hear in yourself. And there's a game that you're constantly playing with yourself, right? It's whether you're choosing to listen to the negative one or the positive one. And yeah, there's a lot of talk around, what's the point in, having this whole a lot of people get a knee-jerk reaction, or they feel a little bit icky when they hear people talk about positivity. But it's not just about that. It also comes
across cheesy sometimes.
Yeah, it does come
right?
across cheesy, and 100% it does. It does. But positivity is also nothing without actions, right? You've got you and I can sit here and we can talk the talk for as long as we want about this, but we've actually got to do things, right? And I think I was during that time when I was receiving these punches to my beliefs, I was still getting evidence that it was possible. And I was trying to shut the noise out and just focus on that. And I was quite fortunate because during the COVID period, when we were all working from home, it also meant I was spending less. So I could then take stock of my situation and say, hey, right, hold on. I'm spending less and my commissions are still coming in. I can either get myself a nice watch or a nice car or X, Y, and Z.
And then still tell yourself that the deposit, where's the hell is the deposit coming
Where's the
from?
deposit coming from? Yeah, exactly. I can then start questioning myself, or I can do things.
Mhm.
I can start, opening a savings account. I can start investing in stocks, in crypto. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not saying you should do those things to get your money up, but I was testing. I was experimenting with things to get my money up, and
You were doing things differently.
I was doing
You
things.
weren't doing the
I was
same
doing things
things
different
and
Yeah,
expecting a
exactly.
different
So I
result.
and that's the definition of insanity, right? When you try the same things, you keep doing the same things, and expecting the result to change.
Mhm.
And this brings us full circle back to the quote. I was asking you about all of these changes that you've been going through in the past year. And it sounds like a year of discovery, because every time your things are happening to you, you're also learning or acquiring new things. It's either you're changing your environment or you're collaborating with new people. So I wanted to get to the next part, which was moving in with me. Right. And that period when you had gone through your breakup and you're looking at the cards on the table and you're trying to figure out what's the next move. Bring us into your thinking. How did you make the decision to move in with me, and how were you feeling at that time?
Yeah, well, really. So, when it comes to a breakup, you pack your shit and you go.
Right. Yeah.
But no, to be honest, I think it was a tough decision because I have lived by myself before Love Island, to be fair. And after Love Island, I was in a relationship and we moved in together and stuff. So, and to be honest, it was lovely house, massive 5-bedroom house and what have you. And then
A lot of space for two people,
yeah,
and a dog.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it. It's
Yeah,
still-
right.
it's still
Okay,
hurts.
sorry.
It's still quite sore, bro.
Yeah. My bad.
No, I'm joking. The self-discovery has been good this year. I am healed. But no, moving in with you was quite an easy process. As much as it was difficult to really navigate what I was gonna do because I've got social media on my back and thinking, well, not necessarily I've got social media on my back, but it's more of a case of I still have to work. I still have to, show up. I can't just feel like really in my mind. This is all what I'm thinking in my mind at the time. I can't pause and think, I need to look at moving here, there, and everywhere. This is what works logistically, blah, 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 blah. So for me, it was just peeling everything back and thinking, do you know what? Let's just make this a bit simple, stupid for the moment. And what's going to make me happy? All right, being around the people that I love. Who do I love? My brothers, my family, and all right. I was just really in a fortunate position that you were able to, accept me coming in a roundabout way of speaking. So now where I'm at is as you put it really eloquently, I'm in a moment of self-discovery, and I don't think that's as long as I'm alive, I don't think that's ever going to change, and I've come to really accept that. And I think if I don't know why we as humans we don't like to accept that we are constantly learning about ourselves. We always like to be that person that says, "I've got all my shit figured out." Really? Have you? Like, even when we have kids, at that point, I'm 99% sure we still don't have it figured out. Even though we're guiding a little and
When you say we, it's not me and you, right?
no, 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 no.
Okay, yeah.
No, 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 no,
That's
no.
no,
No.
right? Yeah, that's
But yes, when we find a partner, let me make that a little bit
Yeah.
clearer. When we both find partners, because we're both single,
Yeah.
we are both single. But yes, when we both find partners, I still think at the stage that you have a family, you're raising a family, and you're kind of really nurturing your child, mentoring your child, teaching them about life, we're still figuring it out ourselves. But yet we have this mindset of, oh my God, we're kind of bringing someone up. So we put ourselves on a pedestal that we're no longer figuring things out, but we're still figuring it out. We're still learning about that process, right? So I'm a firm believer that throughout life, we're still learning, we're still applying a process of in our minds. It's actually okay to learn something new. But I think for a while I hadn't really had that mindset of, I don't get me wrong, I was open to learning and I was open to really taking in lessons, but the actual idea that I'm actually continuously in a moment of self-discovery and learning about myself and really understanding what that means, I started to tap into that when I became single. And it's, I've actually got the time and space to really appreciate that and really nurture that feeling. So moving in really, again, really helped me to kind of cocoon myself and understand, just paint a picture for where I'm going. For example, Teddy Talks, something that I've really wanted to do for a very long time. Why am I not doing that? What's stopping me from doing that? What's the way in which we can make this work? And now we're doing it, and now we're there, and now we're really just looking to make it more consistent and build on it and really try and empower people. And I think I've taken that really seriously for the first time, I think, in a very long time. So, I'm appreciating it. What about you? I think why do you think that from the question that you asked me, what was the question you asked me again?
I can't even remember, to be honest. I was just following everything that you were saying, so I let go of that question.
You asked me a really important question around why I moved in with you, right?
Yeah, and what you're feeling around the
And what I
time
was
and what was your
feeling around the
decision making.
time.
Yes.
So
that's right.
why do you think that we put so much pressure on the next steps of what we're doing that's so important to us as a human being, and from the science of the NLP world? Why do you think we do that?
Yeah. I think fear is a big one. No one likes failing. And no one likes failing in front of other people. What's my family going to say? What's my friends going to say? And what happens to everything I've built? There's this quote that I really like. It's
Is this your quote, by the way? Because we haven't got to that.
No, it's not my quote, but I feel like it's relatable. I'm probably going to remix it, but it's something like, whatever you're going to build might be destroyed, but build it anyway. And
Love that.
How can you frame certain decisions in a way that you're still going to get something out of whatever you choose that you're going to do, rather than, yes, you've still got to mitigate risks in certain scenarios. Like if you've been burnt in a relationship before and you're scared of going into the next one, yeah, that's warranted. Yeah, you should be allowed to feel that way. Maybe it is that you need time to figure out, what is it that attracts you to those sort of types of people. So there is some work that needs to be done. But you can't be closed-minded because of that last relationship or because of that last job that you had or that last team that you were with, So I think, fear is definitely a driver. And I think the other driver is also just not knowing how. When people don't know what is the next step that comes after that,
The fear of the unknown.
the uncertainty. People don't like uncertainty. You can see it even in the world of finance, which you came from. The stock market, things begin to crash when there's a bit of uncertainty around the CEO's position or, this or that, whatever. But yeah, I think quite simply put, it's fear that drives a lot of people's decision making, especially when it comes to things like moving into a new place or, starting a family and just making those big decisions in life. But, before we bring our introduction to a close, I wanted to just obviously give you your flowers, because I think that this year you've had an amazing year. Yes.
Notice how I had a sip.
You had a sip to
I had a
that.
sip to that.
Yeah. I give you an air toast to that. And I think you
Appreciate
have
that.
had an amazing year. It would have felt like a rocky start, but during you turned that pain into strength. And you've gone from strength to strength. And seeing you more recently in your latest project on, was it Celebrity SAS?
Yeah, he does win.
Seeing you being challenged in ways that I haven't seen you being challenged before, in ways that I haven't experienced before, was very inspiring. And it takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of resilience, and it takes a lot of belief to even get as far as you did, and even to get in the ring, to put yourself
try and swim.
There's a lot. I mean, we'll definitely pick that up on one of the next episodes when we talk more about your SAS experience. But
we won't talk about me not being able to swim.
So yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I mean, I've laid the flowers for you right here on the spare sofa, the invisible flowers. So.
Yeah, I've got the invisible flowers.
You got the
I really appreciate that, because the year has been, mentally it's been tough. I think it's been tough because, as I said, going through the self-discovery. I've always been someone that's had one eye on elevating myself year on year, day in, day out. I've always wanted to, take myself to the next level. So that this year, more than any other year, has always been tough. To really see a picture of how I'm gonna do that, whilst having so much noise around me, having so much negativity around me, and I kind of got to a point where I seriously just blocked out the noise. It's easier said than done when you say, "Oh, just block out the noise, block out the noise, block out the noise." But when I got to a point where I realized that I'm beginning to do the things that most people around me would consider as impossible, I would certainly, if I looked at myself 5, 10 years ago, I would never have said I was going to be in the public eye, or I was going to, I was going to be working with All Saints. I was going to be having conversations with the owner of All Saints, and the top C levels at All Saints, and just have candid conversations. It's not always business. We're
Mm.
just having chats that are just completely organic and
Mhm.
talking about life and talking about the things, much of the things we're talking about now, and we talk about in our private lives as well.
Mm.
That's just normal. So now I'm really embracing where I'm at right now. And one thing that was huge for me throughout this year was traveling on my own. Like, I hadn't really experienced traveling and being in my own company at all. So when I did that, I think I went to Mykonos, been to Dubai on my own, and I've gone to all these places on my own and just really experienced new journeys on my own, like completely on my own. Um, that was also a revelation in itself. So, we'll definitely talk more about this, but this first episode was more of giving everyone a flavor of what kind of things we're going to be talking about, the deep conversations we're going to be talking about whilst we're just casually having a drink. And these are kind of the things that we do. Usually on the weekend, everyone assumes that we're always out, and that's not the case. We're at home, we're nurturing our minds, we're nurturing our spirits and really healing most weekends. And right now we're doing that on this podcast, and we're really bringing that to people's homes. So I really hope people are enjoying that. We have a closing tradition as well, which is just talking about um, the one thing that we feel really grateful for. And we encourage you at home to also really tap into the things that you also feel grateful for and share that with us as well. So I because we didn't have time to get to your quote, I
Mhm.
want you to tell me and start with what you really, really feel grateful for this year, today, last week, this month. What really sits with you when you think about gratitude? Because acts of
Mm.
gratitude as
Yeah.
well. And I want you to also add why the act of gratitude is so important as well.
Right. Right. So I'm just gonna lead with the first thing that popped into my mind, and I'm really grateful for being alive and sharing this moment with you.
Oof.
You know,
My
this.
drink is finished. Jesus. I can't even. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I really love
You know,
that.
this is your first episode and one of many. And maybe one day I won't be here to see the thousands or two
Oh,
thousandth
God forbid.
episode.
Why? Where you
Oh
going,
no,
bro?
no, but you got to be
Jesus,
realistic.
guys.
Always,
He's leaving us already. Episode one.
I'm not fucking leaving. But yeah, I think that I'm just really grateful for that. It's a really special moment, and the reason why I say I'm grateful to be also alive is because there's just so much bad things happening in the world right now with the wars overseas, and um, I've spoken about things that not many people can do, and being able to buy my first place and all the other things that have come after that, I'm really grateful for being able to even manifest that into my life and be alive to experience it. And you asked the question, why is it important to be grateful? And it's because of the very thing that I'm talking about. There's a lot of bad things happening, and it's very easy to focus on the negative stuff. Why not? Why not just count your blessings every day and think about what can be possible rather than what can't be possible? Whilst you're here, you're here anyway, right? So you might as well make a go of it. And we are all dealt different cards. I fully respect that, but either way, you've got to play the cards, and you have control on how you do that. We do come from humble beginnings ourselves, but we can talk about that more as people get to know us in the ongoing episodes. But yeah, I'd like to leave it there with a huge thank you for letting me share this moment with you, and thank you to the big man up high for allowing us to share this moment together.
Making this possible. No, thank you as well for agreeing to come and share some of your wisdoms. I hope you at home have taken on some of these gems that we've dropped. There's been a lot of information. This is more of what we're going to bring to you at home, wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. But yes, do not forget to share your favorite quote, something that you live by, what wakes you up in the morning or just gets you through the day, and the act of gratitude as well. So leave a comment, subscribe, and yes, I will see you on the next episode. Thank you very much for having us. No, thank you very much for being here. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what you meant.
I'll get used to it.